What's going on, everybody? I am Brian, and this is Two Brothers Politics. We are going over the latest news. We're going to debate over it. We're going to have discussions, and we're really going to dive into everything that is current and new going on. Now, today we're going to be covering Prince Harry. He sold, I think it was 1.4 million books in a single day. We're going to be covering the supposed ban on gas stoves, and we're going to be covering everything else that is currently ongoing. John, what do you got?
So I'm John, the other brother here, and in today's top story, we're going to talk about Biden's classified documents and the mishandling or misuse thereof. Looks like we've got three documents now found at three separate locations. Got a whole lot of stuff to get into, and we'll see you soon.
All right. So, with this being our first video, I figure we just do some introductions, let people know exactly what the channel is about and what we are doing. So, and I am an Iraq veteran. I served in the Army as an infantryman. I've done a lot of different things from wildland firefighting with the Montana Conservation Corps to building AK 47s to doing sales. You name it, I've more than likely done it. I am a registered Democrat. I did vote for Joe Biden. I'm a believer in the Second Amendment. And I think that we need to have a lot more civil discourse. My brother, he's more right wing. He's definitely more right leaning than I am. Um, he believes in God. I am an atheist. But I think we need to have these discussions between one another to just find the middle ground, to find the bridge and find a place where we can find compromise, because I believe this is something that we've lost as a nation, and I think it's something that we need to get back to if we're ever going to move forward.
Yeah, I actually agree with a whole lot of that. John, the brother as well, and constitutional conservative. I definitely believe in the Constitution, the way that it was written, how it was written, why it was framed the way that it was framed, and what our founding fathers believed that we should have for a country. I think that it is highly important that we that sit on two separate sides of the aisle actually do need to have civil discourse and conversations between each other and being able to bridge that gap because it seems as though the divide is only getting further and further away. um, Hopefully we can help achieve that, maybe just within ourselves, maybe with the people that we're able to communicate through our wonderful show here. So I think we're just going to hop right into the first story. We've got Attorney General Merrick Garland says that he is going to be having a special counsel committee signed up here. Can you pull that link up actually for us really quick? I think that we should probably just read, or it's a video. I think that we just open up with Merrick Garland there. About 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes.
Yeah,
Run
something
through
like
it really quick, and we'll have some commentary afterwards.
that. Okay, let's do it.
Let's see.
Northern District of Illinois
Oh, perfect. Okay.
conducted the initial investigation into the matter that I will describe today. On the evening of November 4th, 2022, the National Archives Office of Inspector General contacted a prosecutor at the Department of Justice. It informed him that the White House had notified the archives that documents bearing classification markings were identified at the office of the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement, located in Washington, D.C. That office was not authorized for storage of classified documents. The prosecutor was also advised that those documents had been secured in an archives facility. On November 9th, the FBI commenced an assessment consistent with standard protocols to understand whether classified information had been mishandled in violation of federal law. On November 14th, pursuant to Section 600.2B of the Special Counsel Regulations, I assigned U.S. Attorney Lausch to conduct an initial investigation to inform my decision whether to appoint a special counsel. Mr. Lausch has served as U.S. Attorney in Chicago since 2017. Before that, he spent more than a decade as an assistant U.S. Attorney in that same office. I selected him to conduct the initial investigation because I was confident his experience would ensure that it would be done professionally and expeditiously.
White House audio.
On December 20th, President Biden's personal counsel informed Mr. Lausch that additional documents bearing classification markings were identified in the garage of the president's private residence in Wilmington, Delaware. President Biden's counsel informed Mr. Lausch that those documents were among other records from the period of the president's service as vice president. The FBI went to the location and secured those documents. On January 5th, 2023, Mr. Lausch briefed me on the results of his initial investigation and advised me that further investigation by a special counsel was warranted. Based on Mr. Lausch's initial investigation, I concluded that, under the special counsel regulations, it was in the public interest to appoint a special counsel. In the days since, while Mr. Lausch continued the investigation, the department identified Mr. Hur for appointment as special counsel. This morning, President Biden's personal counsel called Mr. Lausch and stated that an additional document bearing classification markings was identified at the president's personal residence in Wilmington, Delaware. When I first contacted Mr. Lausch about this matter, he said he could lead the initial investigation, but would be unable to accept any longer-term assignment because he would be leaving the department in early 2023 for the private sector. U.S. Attorney Lausch and his team of prosecutors and agents have conducted this initial investigation with professionalism and speed. I am grateful to them.
So I think that the first thing here is that I like the fact that the Attorney General is going to actually push forth an investigation, but I don't like the fact that they're going to have to hand over the keys to somebody else. Because I think that too many things go wrong when that happens. So this gentleman Lausch, I didn't do any research into him, but he's stepping down because he's going into the private sector. And then they ended up bringing, Robert K. Hur into it.
Yeah.
I think you just had that pulled up a second ago, actually.
Yeah, it's right there.
So, gentlemen here, let me go ahead and read through a little bit for you here. I'm going to pull it up. Let's see. Robert K. Hur, born 73, an American attorney who served as the U.S. State's Attorney for the District of Maryland from 2018 to 2021. He previously served as Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General. On January 12th, that is, I believe that's today, 2023, Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed Hur to the role of special counsel responsible for investigating Biden's handling of classified documents found at Biden's home and the Penn's Biden Center. So I don't know too much about Hur, but I'm grateful that if there is something here that maybe we'll actually be able to find something out. And I think it's a little bit hypocritical of the way that they treated Trump actually on this topic, because now the tables have actually turned. And I would even argue that when Trump was president, he did have the ability to declassify documents, whereas these classified documents were when Biden was vice president, and he did not have the ability to declassify any of his documents. So he's kind of sitting in a little bit hot water here. I'm curious to see how the media is going to treat this.
So I think it's all an overreaction to begin with, even with Trump.
Okay.
I felt like it was excessive. I do feel like it was a little bit different, but I think it also matters, like, what are on these documents? Like, I think that's the biggest issue. Excuse me. Because if these documents are just like someone's name and something that they like to do, like a hobby or something of that nature, I don't see that being a huge threat to national security or anything of that nature. I do feel like Trump was a little bit different because he was, rejecting to work with them. There was still documents found even after they said they didn't find them, so on and so forth. Um, and it's not that big of a deal. Like I said, it's just documents, and if he was able to declassify them, then they're not necessarily classified documents. But what if they were documents that there was only one of those made, and it has the government needs it for whatever reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I
because I
don't
mean,
think it
you don't.
justifies raiding his house with
Right.
ARs and all that
Yes.
craziness.
Yeah,
Like, you could
I
have
agree.
easily gone in there and just searched this place like you did before and not
Mhm.
made a giant circus of it.
Yeah, I mean, as it is already, it's less of a circus for Biden than it
Yeah.
was for Trump. And I think that Trump was actually still working with him, but he took like 7 months to provide the documents.
Yeah, it took
And
a long and then
yeah,
there was still missing documents.
yeah, yeah. I don't remember missing documents from him, but I mean, I'd have to look into it
There
to
was
be
there
sure.
was still documents in the house. Even like
Okay.
his I think his lawyer signed saying that there was no more documents in the house, and then they found more
Okay.
documents in the house. Again, I don't think it's a reason to raid his house with
Right.
ARs and all that craziness and the Secret Service showing up, but I do think, like, the police did need to show up with a warrant and say, we are going to search the premises again. Like, I'm perfectly
Right.
fine with that. That I think that's not an overstepping. I think, if it is an important document that does belong in the hands of the government, my
Mhm.
question is, what is in these documents? What is
Mhm.
so unique about these documents that they're so pressing that they need them?
Right. I mean, I don't know if
And we
there
might
is
not know.
anything.
We
Yeah.
might not even ever find out. We
I
probably
don't
won't find out if it
I
is
don't I don't think
classified
we ever will.
information.
Right. I don't think that we ever will, to be completely honest with you. Even if it wasn't really that important, even if it was just talking about where Joe Biden ate, his breakfast in the morning and what he had with a side of toast, but they're never going to tell us. I mean, it's
But
probably
I
more of a an
but
act.
I've always believed that we need our three-letter agencies to be more transparent, especially the CIA, the FBI, things of that nature.
Okay.
Um, I felt like that's something it's definitely more needed. I want more transparency because then we allow things like the Patriot Act to be able to go through
Mhm.
essentially unchecked. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, to be fair, that was under the Bush administration. That's the Republicans that passed that through.
Mhm.
Maybe a constitutional conservative, but if I think it's important that we have to call out our own parties whenever our own parties are at fault. Because I could call out your party, you can call out my party, but what does that, what does that really say? Like, you have to check your own family when your family is messing up, when your
Yeah,
family is doing something.
like I voted for Biden, but man, he's like, it's hard to defend him. I think he's had some good policies, he's done a few good things, but especially like the clip that you sent me that we're gonna the show here in a little bit, like,
Hmm.
it really shows like he's not all there. And like,
Hmm.
I want to believe that he has the mental capacity to be there. And even I'm just like, man, like,
No, this was
you're
good Biden.
you're reading from a
Yeah,
piece of paper.
this
You
is good Biden.
you're reading
Because
from a piece of paper and you're having problems doing that.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna
as
br
a matter of fact, that's the next clip. We should actually just show that really quick. I think it's about a minute long.
Yeah, I'm gonna show it real quick.
As we're pulling that up, I did want to mention that Robert K. Hur there actually was a Trump appointed attorney as well.
Was he?
He was.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna bring this up.
Time. This is the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity if we work together. So God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President,
Okay.
classified material next to your Corvette. What were you thinking?
Let me, I'm going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said earlier this week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Okay, so it's not like you're sitting out in the street.
So
But anyway,
was in a locked garage.
Yes, as well as my Corvette. But as I said earlier this week, people know I take classified documents and classified material seriously. I also said we're cooperating fully and completely with the Justice Department's review.
All right. So yeah, I think that Biden on a good day. Like, this is
Yeah.
actually a really good day because
Yeah,
I mean,
if you
some of
continue that
his
if you continue that clip on, we edited it out because we didn't want it to be too long because he goes
yeah,
on for quite a minute talking about this, but not really saying anything.
yeah,
And he's mumbling through it while reading from like he's looking down, reading at a piece of
mhm,
paper the entire time. And it's just, it's sad. It's disappointing to see, especially with him going on 60 Minutes and literally saying, like, how can you be so irresponsible? And then turn around and be like, oops, I
yeah,
accidentally was irresponsible. And
right.
that's why I say it was all an overreaction from the people that hate Trump the most. And it's
Yeah.
really what it comes down to. People don't like Trump, so they were like, "Oh my God, he could have nuclear codes in there."
I
And
don't
now
know if we can give him a pass on this one though, because
I'm not
even
I'm not
though,
saying
yeah,
give him a pass. I'm saying that it definitely is going to stand out when it comes to the next election. Like
when
people
he was
I
vice president,
at least I'm going to remember that the fact that he literally went out there and was like, "How can you do this?" But
right?
also like you're going to ostracize them. I get that, like your opponents, you want them to look bad just in case, he tries to legitimately run for
Mhm.
president. You want to undermine him any chance you get. Like
He's
that's
saying he
really
will.
yeah, Trump saying he
He
will. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, Biden's saying that he'll run again as well.
Yeah.
And
Did he? I didn't see that he came out and said it. And
I believe
I actually
so.
don't want him to run
I
again.
I believe he's campaigning already, as a matter of fact. But when Biden did this, he was vice president 2012 to 2016. I mean, it's and looking at the way that the world is today, that's a long time ago. Like 6 years ago, it's actually quite a while ago now. It's like time just keeps fast forwarding ever so slightly every couple of months. So his mental state wasn't where it is today, because I feel like today Biden, I don't know if he's a good actor or if he's really starting to. I don't know what kind of medical condition. I don't want to speculate on what kind of medical condition he could possibly have, but it's like, we can give him a pass for the way that he is now, but I don't think that he should be sitting in office anymore. And this is, classified documents. This is grounds for him to end up getting fired for impeachment.
I don't think it'll lead to impeachment. I honestly I don't think
I don't
anything's
think
gonna happen. I don't think anything's gonna happen with it. I
I
really
don't
don't.
think I don't think that it will either. I don't think that it will either. If President Trump was, hooting and hollering, "Oh, they impeached me twice, and still look at I'm here." So I mean, if we're not going to impeach Trump, then we're probably not going to impeach Biden either. Especially when the administration right now is completely in control of literally everything. But the Simpsons did predict the Kamala Harris presidency. I think they said 2022, but it might just come a year late.
Let
So
me
I
bring
think
up let me bring up this clip, that Joe Biden clip of him and his Corvette real quick.
okay. Yes, 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 yes.
We'll bring that up. All
Yeah,
right, so
because
we're
this is actually, I mean, yeah, you could just scroll through it. Um, right about there. I
yeah,
think you can actually show your mouse right over the trunk of the Corvette there. There's some boxes up against the wall.
yeah, right
Right
here.
back there is supposed to be the documents.
Supposedly.
And
I
this
mean, they
was
could just be
taken
boxes, they could be the documents. If they're just sitting there, like,
according
to
to their
me,
research, their investigation, those are the documents. Those are the
those
documents right there.
if those happen okay, so those happen to be the documents, like, I gotta think that they're not important.
Yeah, because
Like,
they're just
as
sitting in the garage.
there's a lamp, like like, there's random stuff in there, like, that's just, like, stuff that they just like, "Oh, we didn't have room for this, we're gonna put it
Yeah,
outside." Like, I don't
yeah.
see it being anything of importance, and that's why I don't think it should be such a big deal. Like, and we need to stop pretending like classified
Yep.
documentation doesn't get mishandled all the freaking time by everybody, especially in the military and things of that nature. Paperwork gets lost all the time. Like,
Now, I do have to say that this is an absolutely astonishing Corvette, and I actually really appreciate the ugly color that's on it right now. It really fits that car actually very well.
no,
Biden Biden does have a little bit of taste in vehicles.
it's a dope car.
Uh,
I would definitely love that car.
well, here's here's the issue that I have, I think, with this though. So first off, there's supposed to be three separate documents that are supposed to be found now. One of them was at Penn Center. The Attorney General had mentioned that in that first clip that we had had. This is the second classified documents here that are supposed to be in the garage of this address. And then I don't think we had a clip for the third one. I think Mayor Garland had mentioned something, but I don't think I got that in time. Sorry, guys. But what is really interesting is this address, as a matter of fact. I think we've got another one here, a Twitter link here. Who was it? Marco Polo? Yes, yeah, Marco Polo. But Marco Polo was actually responding to something that what's this wonderful lady's name here?
This guy, no.
No, he was responding to somebody else's tweet. Go
Oh,
back
okay.
really
Oh,
quick.
this
Yes, Miranda Devine. Miranda Devine had posted first, and then he responded to this. So if you pull this up fully, is there any way to zoom in on this?
no.
No.
No, that's about as close as we're getting is right there. What are you
Okay.
trying to read
Well,
though?
I just want to read off the address here for it.
Okay, it's got it's redacted in some parts, but it's pretty much
Right.
Barley Mill Road,
Mm-hmm.
uh Willington, was it Delaware,
Right.
19807, which
Right.
is the same as the address if we go back.
If you go back, that is the exact same address as this wonderful identification of a
So
driver's license of Hunter Biden.
so I didn't ask you about this when you had sent me the links for it, but so
Okay.
what is 'cause I feel like there's some speculation that you have going on.
So pretty much what this is saying is that this is not actually President Biden's house. This is Hunter Biden's house. This document wasn't secured in Hunter Biden's house. What this is telling us is that this document or documents, these classified documents that President Biden is not even supposed to have, is actually being stored in his son's house, Hunter Biden. Which
Now
if it wasn't bad enough that he had the classified documents, he doesn't even have them in his own belongings. And I just don't see how people suffer from drugs. I get it, but we know that Hunter Biden is irresponsible in some ways. I'm sure that he's a responsible adult in a lot of other ways, but we know that he's irresponsible in some ways. You don't just take classified government documents and have them sitting on the wall of a garage at your son's house that you know has an issue with things from time to time.
so what do you think the motive is?
I don't think that there is necessarily a motive. I think that it's there could be. We know that the
I mean,
Hunter
what would
bat.
be the purpose? What would be the
Well, okay,
purpose of
so
having them in the house?
either
And
just
why would Hunter
sheer
Biden of all people decide to take this classified information?
sheer irresponsibility. I don't think that he took it. I think that Joe probably gave it to him. But we do know that. All right, we don't necessarily know, but it's theorized that the Hunter Biden laptop was actually um, given to the store owner that fixed
Yeah,
his
I heard that
computer,
story.
because
And
apparently
supposedly
there's
he got some information off of it, but it's very uncredible information.
well, I mean, there's a lot on the Biden laptop story, and we're still we're still finding stuff out on the Biden laptop story right now. But the theory is that Hunter actually did it deliberately to get back at Joe for, I guess, childhood traumas.
I feel like
There's
that's
a
a bit
lot
of
of
a stretch.
well, there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking here for? It's not really like hard evidence, but there is a lot of
Circumstantial evidence.
yeah, and then when you look into the granddaughter's diary as well, and how
Yeah, I heard about that.
she used to take showers at night specifically because it doesn't
Yeah.
really detail it in great detail, but the idea here is that she took a shower at night to stay away from Joe.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to try and speculate on any of it necessarily being true, but I do have to keep the reality open that it might be true. And it may be that Hunter has these classified documents just left them there on purpose because at some point maybe he just wants to get back at his father for something that happened in his childhood. But I'm more out to believe that
Now,
it's just irresponsibility.
I think the more logical answer to why his address is Delaware, it could just be for the simple reason that he didn't want his location to be able to be tracked in a database.
Okay.
If you own multiple properties, you can say that you live at one address but live at a different address. Technically, it's illegal.
Hmm.
Technically, you're supposed to be living at the address that your ID states. I was like, but when you're someone of notoriety of that nature, you want to try to shade
Hmm.
your address as much as you possibly can. So I think that's a possibility that he could simply, or he could have just been staying there for a while and put his address on there. Like,
Right.
it doesn't necessarily mean that he owned the house or that he was living in the house. It just means that he may have been there for a time or he used it as an address.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's still a whole lot to go off of, and I think that we're actually, I have some faith that we're going to get to the bottom of it at some point. Um, I'm not a big fan of McCarthy, but our new House Speaker, I think, is actually going to do a decent job of looking into this, and I think this Her guy as well, Attorney Her, is going to actually have a pretty good investigation. But let's go ahead and bring up that other one really quick as well. We've
We
got
watch what is happening right
McCarthy.
now with the President of the United States. Not once, but now we're finding in two different locations classified information just out there in the open. It just goes to prove, and we're finding out now, after being sworn in, that this was discovered before the election. Another faux pas by the Biden administration, but treating law differently based upon your political beliefs. Treats one President Trump one way, but treats President Biden a whole different way. That's why we had to provide a new entity from our church style to look after the weaponization of what's gone on, that you want an equal playing of the law to all Americans. Sorry, let him finish.
Do you see this matter regarding the classified documents found in President Biden's home going before that committee?
I see it could go from that committee or others, but I think Congress has to investigate this. Here's an individual that's been in office for more than 40 years. Here's an individual that sat on 60 Minutes that was so concerned about President Trump's documents locked in behind, and now we find it just as a vice president, keeping it for years out in the open in different locations. I do not think any American believes that justice should not be equal to all. And we found from this administration what happened before every single election, whatever comes out that they utilize to try to falsify it, they try to have different standards for their own beliefs. That doesn't work in America.
So,
All right.
yeah.
So what
So
do you think here?
I think this is a show of force.
Okay.
I think a lot of Republicans have perceived McCarthy to be weak. I think a lot of people think he can't do the job. You have your holdouts from the
Hmm.
Freedom Caucus that
Right.
like Matt Gaetz and
Right.
mm, ugh, ugh, ugh.
Boebert. Yeah.
But yeah, so you have those individuals, and I think he's trying to prove something to him. I think he's trying to prove that he can be stern, that he's going
Hmm.
to not take it easy on Democrats, that he's going to, at least try to evenly disperse the judgment and so on and so forth, and how he's
Okay.
going to operate and how he's going to lead as head.
Right. I think that I don't think that he's weak. I don't think that he's weak at all. I think that the issue that I have with McCarthy is that he's part of the swamp. And so, I mean, talking about the Freedom Caucus, as a matter of fact, I think that that is really the only small branch of Republicans right now that are genuinely fighting for the people. I think that your establishment Republicans that have been there for forever, it they need to I mean, Nancy Pelosi spent 40 years as a politician before she finally stepped down here recently as House Speaker. I didn't even check to see if she's still a member. But we've got Biden. Biden's been a politician for 40 years, and those are just we've got a whole handful, laundry list of both Democrats and Republicans both that have been in politics for entirely too long. And that's actually one of the things that I really liked about Trump was the fact that he wanted to put term limits on, obviously we have term limits for presidency, but he wanted to put term limits on everybody, on every branch of government all the way through and through. And it would have resolved a lot of this. The Another issue that I had with McCarthy as well was the fact that there was a motion to vacate, a single person motion to vacate, where and it's in the Constitution as well. When our founding fathers first came through, and when we were writing everything down, it was supposed to be just a single person in Congress that decided if they didn't like or didn't want the House Speaker to be there anymore, they were unfit for the job, that it was only one person that had to stand up, raise their hand, and say, I want to put a motion for them to vacate. It's not like they would get fired, but one person had the ability to at least start that conversation. And one of the matters that the Freedom Caucus wanted to have was they wanted to have that reinstated because Nancy Pelosi actually decided as her term as House Speaker that she was just going to get rid of that. And the House Speaker has tremendous amounts of power. They can make all kinds of just silly, bogus rules whenever they want. And part of the Freedom Caucus's principles there were that Merrick Garland had to, or I'm sorry, not Merrick Garland, but McCarthy had to reinstate the single person to vacate. And I don't know what happened. What was it? 14 failed votes,
Yes.
and yeah, 14 failed votes. There was a little bit of a disturbance there at the House during the at the very end. I'm
Yeah,
guessing that it
McCarthy
was.
said something to Gates.
Yeah, and we have no audio on any of it. And almost, yeah, it almost turned into a little bit of a scuffle, I guess. But right after that, the 14th vote went through. I believe that Gates had received a message or something from Trump, and Trump had told him pretty much to vote for
And
McCarthy. And
that's
in the
my
next,
problem. That's
yeah,
my problem with
that's
Gates.
yeah. Well, see, it's not just Gates
That
though;
you
it's the
said yeah, but
entire
you sat there,
establishment.
you guys, they both, all those Freedom Caucus
Hmm.
individuals, they sat there and they waited and they waited. And as soon as Daddy Trump said, pull
Yeah,
the trigger, they did. And that shows me that you're not a politician, that you're a puppet. You're a
right.
puppet for Trump, that you're trying to push for Trump. You're going to actively fight for Trump because if Trump does run and he does win, you want to be sitting there right by him next on
Well,
the.
who do you think would win between Biden and Trump?
I think Biden would win.
I don't think so.
I
Not
I
after
don't
this has
think
only been 2 years. We got another 2 years of Biden. I'm I'm sure that it's unless he does a drastic turnaround right now to fix things. That's the only way that he can save his 24 election.
if he runs against DeSantis, I think he'll lose.
I think
If
definitely
he
he
runs
loses against
against Trump,
DeSantis.
I think a lot of independents are just not going to go with it. That's one of the reasons that I ended up becoming a registered Democrat was because of Trump. I don't think he's a good leader. We can spend another segment going on the list of things that I didn't like policy wise, but
Hmm.
outside, I just his professionalism, it matters to me. It matters to how
Hmm.
our country is represented, and the president of the United States is the symbol, the representation for all of us.
I agree
And
that he was crash and he.
I was honestly hoping that electing somebody that was less erratic
Hmm.
may smooth things down and cool things off,
Right.
would make tensions less, make the divide less, and all of that stuff. But obviously, tribalism has set in so very hard that it doesn't even matter anymore who's in office.
I do agree because I mean it really has turned to the tribalism is starting to get worse and worse. And I think that that's actually another good point too is because we have a whole bunch of independent people here in the country that don't lean one side or the other. And even though I'm a constitutional conservative, I still do have ideas or policies that would definitely lean much further to the left than the right. I understand that we as a country need to be a country with defined borders. That's what defines a country. But I also don't think that, we necessarily need borders in the grand scheme of humanity. As somebody that grew up in this country, I think that it's nice to have those borders because that is what defines me as an American. And, patriotism runs strong, but I think that the human race is stronger than just my patriotism. And I don't think it necessarily matters what kind of skin color you have, or nationality, or religion, or anything. And that's kind of the point as well, is that I think that the Democrats used to run off of that coexist, right? Everybody can live together in peace and harmony. And it seems as though now it's starting to go the other way, where Republicans now are embracing of other people's cultures or religions and wanting to coexist a whole lot more than the Democrats. The Democrats right now, if you're not extreme, if you're in the center, or if you're slightly leaning to the left, then they pretty much demonize you and disown you and say that you're right wing. You
Oh
could
no.
be a libertarian
Mm.
and be called right wing, even though you're a libertarian.
No, I've actually gotten in an argument with a lot of far left individuals,
Hmm.
being a registered Democrat, voting for Biden,
Hmm.
believing in trans rights and all of this stuff, but getting in, arguments because of something that I don't necessarily believe is a right thing, or I'm not sure about trans women or men in,
Hmm.
men only or women only sports and things of that nature. Um, especially trans and kids, or the kid drag shows and stuff like that. Like, I'm definitely
Right.
not okay with. Like, all of that stuff is just absolutely, it's just
CRT.
it's out there,
CRT.
CRT. I
Yeah.
you know CRT, I don't necessarily mind in a historical setting. Like,
Right.
I don't think that we have the people teaching this stuff with the right credentials to actually teach CRT, not in the proper way that it
Okay.
needs to be taught. Because cr- because it all comes back from critical theory that
Mhm.
started with Marx, which
Right.
was
Yeah.
essentially talking about classism and things of that nature, and how there's a working class, and then there's the upper class, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
And I think much more today that we're facing classism more than we could ever face any kind of racial divides or anything of that nature. And that's why I don't think I don't think the idea of teaching kids any kind of like somebody is the oppressor and you are the oppressed. I don't think teaching
Right.
kids is going to be a good thing on that aspect.
Well, I do think that we're in like fourth generational welfare right now. Warfare. I'm sorry. Um, I do think that the government is deliberately dividing us for whatever reason. It could be a bunch of different reasons, but I do think that the government is trying to deliberately divide us off of
I don't
whatever they
no,
can right
I honestly don't think it's that. I honestly don't think that it's like it's an
now. Mhm.
active plot or scheme to divide anybody. I think really it's we're just
I
going through
mean, we're
cultural
divided.
We're
We're
going through
divided on
cultural
everything.
shifts. Yeah, but we're going through cultural shifts. Like, we've gotten a spurt of technology over the course of the last 30 years, unprecedented in human history, and we're learning how to use it. You're learning how to operate it, and we definitely we're seeing mentality really form up. We're seeing that build across, especially on Twitter and stuff like that. But if you talk to the average Democrat, they're going to tell you that they're not okay with
Right.
kids being trans,
Mhm.
or what's that book, Gender Queer. They're not
Right.
okay with that book being in the
Right.
hands of 12 or under, or 14 and under. I
So
think 15, 16, 17, we might have a discussion, but even then, that
right.
book specifically is too graphic, I think, even for that age.
And I mean, I agree with you because Republicans, you talk to the average Republican and they're not quite all the way out on the far like the media likes to make you think that they are as well.
Yeah.
They're not these
Racist
KKK
Nazis.
members, racist Nazis, right? And I mean, it's like if you're on the right, that's immediately you're profiled as somebody that's being
Yeah, that's
racist,
become the new thing.
misogynist, or whatever it is.
Or if you're a Democrat, you're a
Well,
groomer. Like, I can't tell you how many times
right,
people are like, "Oh, you support the groomers." Be like, "No, I
right,
don't support groomers. I
yeah,
support social programs and things that help people and really
yeah,
lift up the poor community. I support all of these things that Democrats would or Republicans would like to vote against. I like these things and I want them expanded more. That's why I'm a Democrat, is because
oh,
I want more social programs, more welfare, social security, things of these natures that help out the poorest. And to really boil it down to you're just supporting the groomers, it's
mhm,
just absolute insanity because there's no one in their right mind that's okay with that kind of stuff.
right.
Nobody.
I
And
do
don't get me
think
wrong.
that
I know there may be some Democratic politicians that may support that, and I think they need to be removed
right.
at the end of it. And there needs to be laws passed to not allow children around these events.
Well, the reason why I say that it's government trying to divide
And
us is because we do see a lot of politicians right now that are exacerbating all of these things that divide us, and they're putting it on fire and making it worse. AOC is literally
yeah.
she anything that she can get clout on or
Yeah,
publicity on, she's
I don't support
screaming at
her.
the top of her lungs.
I don't like her. I don't think she's a good politician. I don't think she has any kind of life experience to be doing what she's doing.
Karine Jean-Pierre sits
She
there
just
and
stirs the pot. That's all,
yeah,
she doesn't have any real solutions to anything. She may have done a few good things here and there, but
stirring
for
her
the most part,
base.
you're just making more division. Like, she is somebody that just is there to just stir that pot
Right.
as much as she can.
Yeah. Well, let's bring up I got one more link for you. It's Edward Snowden had tweeted something. That way we can wrap this story up and we can hop into the next one.
Okay, hold on. I gotta find it. I think I closed it out. There it is.
Um
I got it.
what was he saying off the top of my head? Let me see.
I got it. Hold on.
Okay.
Up. Bam.
Perfect. Saying the real scandal isn't that Biden had classified documents coming out of his socks, because sadly they've all been doing it. So the what he's saying is that, obviously a bunch of politicians have been doing it, not just Biden. The real scandal is that the DOJ, the Department of Justice, found out about it a week prior to the midterm elections and chose to suppress the story, conferring a partisan advantage. So prior to the midterms, the DOJ knew about it, were terrified of losing their seats on the midterm elections, buried the stories to let the elections get through, and then uncovered it.
I would like to see someone come forward from the DOJ and make a statement on that.
I don't
Because
think they will.
I've heard from multiple sources, credible sources, that it did get found out in November 2nd. You said
I think the first, no, there was a couple of them. The dating, Merrick Garland actually mentioned in that first clip that we had. I know if somebody rewinds,
but
you'll have
regardless, it was prior to the midterm election.
Mhm,
Um, and so that does bring up a lot of questions. Why did you keep it hidden? Why didn't you
right,
bring it forward? Especially because it wasn't even that long prior or before that everything was going down with Trump.
right,
And it was still like ongoing and being talked about. So why
yeah,
wasn't that brought up as well? Um, and just showing the biasness that there is. Like,
yeah,
it's so out there. It's so ridiculous how much everything is biased.
right,
And you know, once you've said that this is my side, like CNN or any of the other sites, they're immediately set into this is the narrative that we're going to go with, and
right.
it's causing so much just BS because people read the first article and then they're like, okay, I'm not gonna, that's all I need to know. They're like, I'm
Right,
good.
yeah.
I got all the information I need to know because I trust CNN to tell me everything I need to know, or I
They
trust
they
Fox
they
News
don't
to
even
tell me
do that
everything I need
though.
to know.
They read the headlines, that's it. They don't even read the article. They read the headlines off of the article. If something really pops, maybe they'll read a couple of sentences, to the very furthest extent, maybe a paragraph.
Yeah, I
You know,
think I'm not, I don't dig into conspiracy theories at all, but I do think that I don't this isn't a distraction, but
Mhm.
the classified documents is just a distraction. You know what I mean? It's just in the
Okay.
way. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like do an investigation. If they did something wrong, if there's like a law that literally states like you've done something wrong, here's the fine that can go along with it, or here's the penalty
Right.
that can go along with it, then we'll have that discussion. I have no
Right.
problem with them doing their investigation. I think it's the right thing to do. But I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I think at worst, we're probably going to see some fines paid from both Trump and Biden. More
Mhm.
probably not Biden, if we're going to be honest. More than likely, like because of his privilege as president right now, he's probably going to be able to snake
Mhm.
his way out of that one. So,
Yeah.
you
His
know, I think
grounds
we
for
need to start.
impeachment.
I think we need to start focusing on the future, on what's coming next. Like what policies, what bills, what are we focusing on that's really going to have an impact? Like what are things that are going to change? You know, what's that?
Graphene.
What's that?
I said graphene.
Yeah. But yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to
Right.
see I want to see us move on past this because I think it's something dumb to get stuck on for too long. You know what I mean?
Yes. 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 So what story do we have next for the night?
We are going to talk about Prince Harry's memoirs. The book is
Okay.
named Spare, which
Okay.
is so I was actually watching Ben Shapiro today because you know how I like to listen to people I disagree with and yell at the TV while I'm working out. Yeah. So I was listening to Ben Shapiro and he actually went on a whole rant about this for like 30 minutes. Just talking about how Prince Harry is just a horrible person that wants to bring down the establishment. He wants to just crumble and destroy everything. And it's just like even even Prince Harry's book has become so politicized. Like not even his
Right.
book, his life, his
Right.
existence, his marriage to what's her name? I can't remember her name, but the people hate her. The God, they hate her. They
Yeah.
hate
They
her
do.
so much. And it's just so this book is essentially talking about his life from his perspective and the trauma on how he sees it. This book is his truth. That
Okay.
is all this is. It is a memoir. Not to say every single thing in this is 100% accurate, but this
Right.
is how he perceived the world growing up as a kid. Everyone will used to call him the Spare. And that's why the book is named this, is
Okay.
because his brother Prince William is set to inherit the throne.
Right.
And so he is the second born son. With Harry being the second
Mhm.
born son, everyone made the joke that he was the spare. He was the extra child. He was the backup just in case something happened to William. Um, and it was definitely a joke. People, it was said to him a lot. So you got to think as a kid, it might affect you in some way. You know what I mean? It's not going to
Mhm.
hugely traumatize you, but it's going to affect you in some way. If he's an
Okay.
Afghanistan veteran, he served his time. He's been very active on helping veterans with PTSD and things of that nature. Um, Overall, he's a relatively good guy, just telling the story as he sees it. And I don't see the issue with that. I think we romanticize the royals too much. And I'm actually surprised to see Republicans defending the royal family. It baffles me that they're even like, no, like they want to he's trying to bring down the establishment. Wouldn't you want the royal family to be brought down? Like at the end of the day, like it's such a non-essential thing, but
Yeah.
it's the
Well,
rights. This is the rights attempt to holding on to the traditions that are just absolutely needless. But it's their way of fighting back against the wave of let's trans kids. They're like, no, we need to keep God and the royal family intact. We need to make sure they're safe.
I don't think that they're necessarily defending the royal family. I think it's if the book is I haven't read the book, obviously.
I've read a bunch of like little segments from the book.
Okay. If it is really about, destroying the establishment, that is what the Republican base is about right now, is tearing down the establishment that is the
And
politician.
it's not necessarily tearing down the establishment is what the book is about. It's
Okay.
him airing his family's dirty laundry. And so
Okay.
Republicans are perceiving it as him tearing down his family establishment
Okay.
and That's why he's broken away from them, and that's why he's living in LA because, like, and the idea that Republicans are mad because he was born to have this role, and so he should just be happy and do his role because that's his place.
Right.
Like that's not verbatim what Ben Shapiro said, but I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he was saying, is that this is what we're going to do. Like, this is your role. You were born for this. Why are you upset that you were born for this role? Now, don't get me wrong. Anybody would be happy to be a royal. And that's again, why I think we romanticize the royal family, is because we all secretly grew up watching, Cinderella and all of these movies where we secretly deep down would love to be the prince. We would love to have a castle and servants and all of these different things and be able to go run through the courtyard full of flowers and roses. Like, it's a fairy tale. Like, of course, the royal family is going to be romanticized in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And it just baffles me that people are so upset about it. But his book, regardless of that, has sold 1.4 million copies in a single day between the UK, US, and Canada.
That is
And
actually pretty insane.
it is set to be the highest selling book ever.
Okay. That is actually insane. That's actually
For the
insane.
time frame. It's crazy. It's
He could completely denounce his royalty at this point.
Doesn't need it
and
anymore.
Live off of his book.
done.
Yeah.
Now, and then you count in book tours around the
Yeah.
globe, book tours,
Mhm.
and all of this stuff. He said
Promotionals, yeah.
he'll never need the royal family money again.
So I mean, if
It will be interesting to see how he does paint his brother in a relatively bad light, but
okay,
it's like when me and you were growing up. I was
envy,
always a
maybe
bully.
jealousy.
I was always a bully to you and stuff like that. Yeah, and exactly.
Mhm.
It's really like Prince Harry does come off to seem like he does have some kind of jealousy towards his brother and stuff of that nature.
He's the
Which
spare.
it might exactly. He's the spare. He doesn't get to be the king unless his brother dies.
He literally wrote a whole book about it.
Yeah, so so it is what it is.
Now, I have to say though, if he were to denounce his royalty, I would definitely be able to get behind him. I would absolutely be able
He
to get
pretty
behind
much has.
him. Yeah.
I
I mean,
like
he's
that's
already
pretty
living
much.
in LA. He's not
Yeah, like
living in the UK.
I'm more than sure that he's already denounced his title and stuff like that. I'll look it up later
Okay.
and we'll confirm it later on. Because I guarantee it's not going to be the last time that Prince Harry is
Yeah.
going to pop up in the news articles.
If he's trying to destroy his own establishment overseas, I don't want to meddle in your politics unless your politics meddles with mine. But if you want to destroy
So
an
one of
establishment
the
that's
reasons,
unhealthy, then go for it.
one of the reasons I do have a point on this. His wife, I believe her name is Megan. I can't remember.
Mhm.
She's like a reality star. She's been on a few things here and there. She's got a little bit of money, but a lot of people think that she was more like a predator towards him, and saw,
Okay.
excuse me, saw a man that was kind of messed up from trauma and all these different things, and took advantage of that. Like, even in the
Mhm.
book, he says that when they met and they had gone on their third date to Africa, that she said she had never Googled him.
Oh wow. Okay. Hmm.
You go
Hmm.
to Africa with a guy on your third date and you've never even Googled the guy. Like, have you though? Like you
I don't know. I
probably
mean,
you probably knew who he was. Like, it does
if
feel
you
like
know he's the
you knew.
prince, then yeah.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you knew who he was. You went
Right.
after him, and that's fine. Like, say that's what you did. Say that, you saw something that you liked
Right.
and you went after it. But it does seem
Yeah.
rather
Be
sketchy.
upfront.
So that's one of the reasons he's having an outs with his family.
Okay.
And then, of course, the left is speculating that the royal family is racist. Even he called his own family racist because I think she's half black. And
Okay.
so, like, the idea of having
Mm.
a black person in the royal family is supposedly like something that they just don't do.
Okay.
Obviously, that's speculation. Obviously, I have no idea if there's any credibility to that.
Right.
But and so that's how it's become so politicized. And I don't understand, like, honestly, like, Prince Harry, like, cool, like, you served your country, and that's another thing. Like,
Yeah. He was
he
in the Air Force.
criticized he criticizes the military,
Mhm.
but also brings, and that's like Ben Shapiro's like, how can you do that? How could you possibly criticize the military that you served in? You went to war and you came home, and
Right.
that makes you a hero. Like, yeah, but it makes us also the best critics of the military. Like,
Right.
I will sit here and criticize the army all freaking day long. Like, I could go on
Yeah.
for hours about that.
You have to call I gotta call out the
Mm.
Republican Party when the Republican Party does something wrong. Like,
Yeah.
I've got to, because it's not like anybody's gonna listen to the left when they're criticizing the
Yep.
right.
And it
It's
doesn't mean that you don't
they're just
enjoy or
haters.
there wasn't good parts of it. You know,
Right.
there would, like, I've said it many times that the army definitely helped make me the person I am today. But looking back, I might not have joined.
Right.
Looking back after the Iraq War and after everything happened and how it just fell so quickly, like a big part of me just wants nothing to do with it. So, you
The
know,
withdrawal, the
yeah,
Afghan withdrawal,
yeah, the Afghan withdrawal was just absolutely horrible. Like, I
literally
can't even
terrible.
imagine. But
Literally terrible.
yeah, let's get to the next story. Let's stop
Hard
talking about this guy.
segue.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the inflation price has dropped by 0.1%. It has dropped by 1.1%, and Democrats are going crazy about this. I'm
Okay.
supposed to be happy. This is supposed to be a sign that
Right.
inflation is going down and things are getting
Yeah.
better. I just don't believe it. I
I
don't.
don't think that we see it. I don't
I
think that
agree.
I don't think that we see it. I think that the numbers are rigged. I mean,
Yeah.
when you go to the gas pump, it was really nice. The gas prices were going down
Gas
for a little
prices, and
while.
this is actually this is exactly why that we are seeing the decrease
Mhm.
right now, and this is why we get the 0.1% is because gas prices have had such a drastic drop lately.
For a while, but as soon as Christmas was done, I mean, we're what, like 2 weeks into January now, and the prices have already started to come back up.
I
Like,
honestly
they
haven't been paying attention.
they went down for a while, for, like, a good solid 2 months. They were dropping, a
I
couple
did
cents
remember
a day.
I did remember it dropped very quick during Christmas.
Mhm. But now that Christmas is over, the gas prices are going back up. If you look at the storeroom shelves and you're going shopping, grocery shopping, you know, all right, maybe it's possible that we had a 0.1% drop. And, looking forward, hopefully that point 0.1 will grow into a point 0.2 and then a point 0.4 and a point 0.8. And maybe we'll start to see something better. But a point 0.1 drop, I don't think that's anything to celebrate right now, because the grocery prices, you go to the store and you fill up a basket and you're spending $400 or $500 just to feed your family for a couple weeks.
Yeah, no, trust me. You know how I got my chicken and rice and all that stuff and oatmeal and all that fun stuff, and even
Chicken
that
skyrocketed.
even
Chicken has skyrocketed in the
I
last
think
year.
for 20 pounds of chicken, it costs me 63,
That's insane.
and then, bags of tilapia, like 3-pound bag of tilapia cost me like 15 or $20, I can't remember, and
Yeah,
that's at
tilapia is
Costco.
supposed to be
That's
cheap.
that's at Costco where it's like the cheap. It's supposed to be cheap, you're buying in
Yeah.
bulk. But no,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
think any
inflation is bad right now. I
yeah,
I I don't
I
think these economists have anything to be hooraying about.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I hope they're right. I hope that things keep going down. I am cautiously
Mhm.
optimistic, but you know,
I
I
think the
don't have
number's
high
rigged.
hopes.
I'm not optimistic at all. I think that the number is absolutely rigged.
It could. And so let's close this out with this ridiculousness of a story. Um, so
AOC.
so
She was tweeting
AOC,
about this earlier.
she was tweeting about this earlier. So what they're trying to do is they are trying to ban gas stoves, or at least that's what was the running idea. Um, and everyone was rallying behind this, like, we can't do this. Like, people in rural areas, they need the gas stoves. How are they gonna cook on woks and all this other stuff? Like I get it. I get where everybody's coming from. Like, I don't think there should be a ban on gas stoves. But this is what happened. We had Commissioner Richard Trumka Jr. He's a
Okay.
Democrat who said in an interview that he had not ruled out a ban on the appliances, prompting the agency to pivot Wednesday and clarify that it was not planning a ban. And so we had the agency come out and they decided to just make a statement. The CPSC, they came out and said that there is, to be clear, I am not looking to ban gas stoves, and the CPSC has no proceedings to do so. So there's no actual effort. They're just testing to see, because there's a concern that gas stoves, there's research that has linked their pollution to childhood asthma and other respiratory issues. And of course, global warming's been thrown in there, which I think has
Yeah.
absolutely nothing to do with it. But of course, that's going to be thrown into it. Um, and so honestly, it's again just another distraction, not a big deal. Like, if they investigate it and they find that kids are actually having these symptoms, it should definitely be a subject of discussion. Um,
Warning, yeah, warning labels or
Warnings,
something.
maybe better ventilation if you do have those, whatever
Right.
the case may be. Maybe you need to have a hood in your house if you're going to have a
Right.
gas stove. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, because there's some houses that just don't have proper hoods or proper fans and ventilation and things of that nature. I personally, I prefer an electric stove. I think gas can be very dangerous.
Mhm.
Granted, I've had gas stove houses and I didn't mind them, but I much prefer an electric. I feel safer. I'm not worried about a gas leak or anything of that nature.
Mhm.
And this is essentially what it's saying. It's just worried about kids being exposed to it, and possibly, when you're having it on, when you're having it cooking, it's putting off some of that gas into the air. And does it affect kids? Does it not affect kids? How much research are we actually going to put into this? We're
Right.
going to see. But I don't see it leading to a ban of gas stoves. That's just, maybe later on they can put in some kind of regulations that new homes and new apartments aren't allowed to use gas stoves, essentially phasing them out. But I
Right.
don't see them being like coming into your house and like taking your stove. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I don't think so.
Like, you got a gas
Voluntary
stove?
buyback.
Voluntary buyback of your gas stoves.
No, actually, one of the things that really intrigued me here is that I saw dozens and dozens of left-leaning politicians all hop on board with banning of gas stoves in like a matter of like 12 hours, almost as if it was orchestrated. I'm not going to go to the extent that it was orchestrated. Like
I
they
think
all have this Slack line, chat that they're all in cahoots together. But it's like as soon as one of them said something about it, all of them decided, yeah, we got to get rid of gas stoves because global warming. It was
yeah,
so quick.
here it is. She shared this. If we wait to promote natural gas stoves until we have scientific data that they are not causing any air quality issues, we'll be done.
Okay.
Like, it's just absolutely ridiculousness. But gas stoves for a very long time. This is just fear mongering at its worst. Like, it's
Or at
really
its
what
best.
it comes. Huh?
Or at its best.
Yeah, or at its best, because people like AOC are out here sharing this like it's something serious.
AOC gets her base riled up very quickly.
She does, and it's absolutely ridiculous that her and that the who was the house, Nancy Pelosi, Elizabeth Warren. Like, I can't. Those are they're individuals I can't stand. I'm not fans of theirs. But yeah, so it's just ridiculous, man. It's just another thing to get people riled up and get them going on about all kinds of craziness.
Gas stoves.
But we'll see what's coming up for tomorrow. There's always something new. There's always something
Oh yeah.
fun. Maybe we'll get some
So
new news on Andrew Tate,
there you go. Yes. Yes. Maybe.
because
Hopefully.
I'm very interested. Actually, we're gonna have a conversation about Andrew Tate soon.
Okay. Yeah, I mean
Because
there's definitely a lot of topics that we can get into. There's a lot of topics that we can get into. Things that we already have, prior research in as well. So but I have to say that, for anybody listening out there, if we got anything wrong, if you want to fact check yourself, if you like the video, throw a like. If you dislike the video, dislike it. throw down in the comments, what you'd like to hear us talk about. If there's anything that we got wrong, please leave a message, correct us with some kind of link. That
Yeah,
way we
we'll
can
have
fact check your
sources.
fact checking.
We'll have
Yes,
sources down in the description so you guys can check
yeah,
out everything everywhere we got it,
right,
whether it be CNN, the Washington Post, or Fox News. We're
right.
trying to grab the most unbiased news that we can find, give you the facts, and try to really break down just what's going on. I think that's the most important thing is taking this news that we're getting from both sides and deciphering it in a way that's not biased and is really just asking the questions. What does
Right.
this mean? Where is it going? How is this going to affect our lives? All of these things are important, and we're trying to throw the tribalism out. We're definitely going to have our biases. Um,
Mhm.
but the point of this, I think, really is because you a Republican, me a Democrat, like we're here to keep each other in check from going to that tribalism spot, to being like, hold up, hold up, hold up. Like, we can't, let's talk about transing the kids and why you think it
Mhm.
might be a good idea or something of that nature. Obviously, I don't think that. I think it's a horrible idea. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if there
Yeah.
are issues that come up that I may be jumping on the bandwagon, or I'm joining the mob in that I want to be checked on it. And
Mhm.
I want to check you on that, so it keeps us in an honest state to where we're consistently and constantly doing our best to get that unbiased perspective as much as possible.
Yeah, we have to be our own checks and balances.
Yes,
Because
100%.
as the state of our country now, our checks and balances system still is intact. It still does work, but I think that a lot of times, like the COVID vaccine, the vaccine mandate and how we just wanted to push that through corporations, we completely bypassed the entire checks and balances of throwing bills out there. We just, told the corporations that they were going or they should pass this, and then the corporations did. It's like, well, what do we have checks and balances for? Why do we even try to push through bills if you're just going to push everything through a corporation?
Yeah, that's why.
So
Yeah, well,
we got
another
to
day
do it ourselves.
we're gonna talk about lobbyists another day.
Yeah, lobbyists. I've got a giant segment on COVID and policies and mandates and masks and all of it, all the way down the laundry list.
Yeah, we'll get there. I mean, COVID's not done yet, so there's always gonna be
Mm.
time to talk about it.
XXB something 13 or 14 or something.
XXB15.
There you go. That's the one.
All right. So yeah, thanks for coming. Make sure you guys have subscribed. Make sure you like the video. Please share it around. Let everybody know that we got this going on. And we'll catch you next time.
Have a good one.